Good evening. Welcome to Meldon Law Monday. I am Buddy Martin. This is the Buddy Martin Show. Glad to be back with you here in my abode in Northwest Florida, coming to you right next to St. Andrews Bay, right here in beautiful Bay County. Show tonight will be a good one. Much to talk about. I've had seen so much baseball, I could turn into a Louisville Slugger. I'm telling you, I never watched so much baseball. A lot, especially lately. And there's no more baseball for Gator fans unless you follow somebody else. Tonight, more results. Ole Miss getting hammered by Murray State. Well, there you go. It's going to be interesting. Kevin Sullivan issues an apology. If you've been following it at all, you know what happened. He exploded over something last week. We didn't know what it was. Now we have some details. We'll sort that out tonight with Shane Matthews and with Kevin Brockway, Franz, all coming your way tonight, right here on the Buddy Martin Show. Tell your friends and neighbors you're on the air. Come on over.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Hello, welcome to Meldon Law Monday, the Buddy Martin Show. I'm Buddy Martin. News tonight, Kevin O'Sullivan and the athletic director of Florida, Scott Strickland, issue a joint apology for what happened in Coastal Carolina. Do you know the whole story? I don't think we do, but we know more today than we knew earlier today. We'll talk about that some, not to belabor it. Baseball's over. Softball's over. Let's get on to things like, true and track's got some setbacks. According to Franz, they have some injuries. We'll talk about that. And, of course, now it's time to start talking football, getting serious about that. It's going to be interesting. I've got a piece I'm writing about the month-long of scorched earth Saturdays facing the Florida Gators. We'll talk about that not tonight, but down the road this summer, back here in Panama City, we'll be doing a couple of segments with our friends up here and talking about some of the things around here. A lot of football talk here. Some recruits, of course, Alabama, Auburn, Florida State. We're all Gators. I'll be talking to my friend Rob. We'll be talking about what's happening in the Gator Club here in Bay County. So with no further ado, let's go right to the Orange and Blue Room where he resides. He's the host of Pot Up with Matthews. And we'll say good evening to this guy, Shane Matthews, the host. The very popular Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. What's up, Shane?
Hello, buddy.
You don't sound too enthusiastic. You must have watched too much baseball. I bet you didn't watch any baseball, did you?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I watched some today.
Well, there wasn't any today.
What's that?
Gators are gone, of course. I guess you.
Yeah, but I watched. I've been watching Tennessee play. I've been watching Ole Miss play. I've been watching softball. So.
Well, let's wrap it up. You heard about Kevin O'Sullivan, I'm sure. He went to a, I wouldn't call it a tirade, but I'd say a hissy fit at least over some things. And no one was quite sure what happened. It happened about an hour, I guess. Well, they started the game early. That was one thing. I guess without notification, I can understand him being unhappy about that. And then, of course, he had enough troubles getting anybody last on the mound, which he couldn't do. The pitching ran shy, the defense was spotty. They still had a tremendous finish, but it was a brutal way to end it. And I think maybe sometimes, Shane, do you sometimes think when you put everything you have into something and it's not enough and you feel like you sort of just failed, how upset you can get at yourself? And maybe that's what happened to Kevin. Do you see his tirade?
Yeah, somebody sent me the clip of it. Obviously, it wasn't great. Look, he's a fiery guy. I'm sure he regrets doing it. Not a great look, but they've issued their apology, and it is what it is, and time to move on.
Well, I don't want to necessarily dwell on it, but I do think we should point out, and I'm not making excuses, like you said, not a good look, not something you'd like to, see replicated. And they moved on it fairly fast. Here's the official apology here. Not that you can read it, it's too small. But it goes on to say that I'll just read it. Scott Strickland said this afternoon, I met with Kevin O'Sullivan, told him his actions prior to yesterday's NCAA tournament game fell well short of expectations of how Gators treat people. Scott Strickland said in the statement, one of our department's core values is respect. Coach O'Sullivan's unacceptable actions failed to demonstrate that. On behalf of Florida Athletics, I want to personally apologize to everyone impacted, including the NCAA representatives, Coastal Carolina, their staff, East Carolina, and their team, as well as Gator Nation. And here's all Sully would say. Prior to yesterday's NCAA tournament game against East Carolina, I let my emotions get the best of me and channel that energy in a way I should not have. I want to sincerely apologize for my actions and behavior to the entire NCAA regional field of Coastal Carolina, East Carolina, and Fairfield, the NCAA, including the representatives Rick French and Mark Scalf, as well as all Gator Nation. I did not represent the University of Florida. The appropriate stand is to take full responsibility for that. Promise to learn from this experience and be moving on. Now, let's look at that from the standpoint. And again, I'm not going to say he gets a pass on this, but don't want that to overshadow what a tremendous job he did in his coaching his team. You wouldn't know it, would you, Shane? I mean, the result didn't get the result he wanted, but I mean that he was even in the tournament was a bit remarkable.
Yeah, they started terrible. We all know that, and the players and the coaches, tip your hat to them to get into postseason play. Tons of injuries. I personally didn't think we'd get out of that regional. I talked to some people, and they said Coastal Carolina was a very good baseball team that could pitch the ball, and I just didn't think we had enough pitching. I know everybody's upset, however you want to phrase it, but Vanderbilt sitting at home, Texas sitting at home. These were national 1 and 2 seeds, right?
Yeah.
So there's only going to be one team happy when it's all said and done, and that's whoever wins the national title.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about this, but I'm picking up bits and pieces. I'm sure some of our folks have heard more already as well. We'll get them to put their thoughts up there. But among the things is they moved the game time on him. I guess that's what they can do as the home host. They can change game times according to weather, this, that, and the other. This is just me talking. I can't prove any of this. I know who was really unhappy, and I think they moved the game up an hour and basically go to the last minute and didn't tell him much. That would piss off a lot of people, I guess. And then, of course, he didn't like a lot of things that were happening. He's not blaming losing the game on that. I think the thing is his behavior was not what he should have been doing. I'm not too thrilled about that coach blasting him, from East Carolina or from Coastal Carolina, blasting him publicly at his press conference either. That wasn't exactly the coolest thing in the world. But anyway, they finished the season. There were a lot of teary-eyed people, especially the softball girls. They were. You just see that press conference the three of them did.
Yeah, I mean, they had a tremendous year. They got to the World Series. That's your ultimate goal, is to get there. And I mean, Oklahoma's getting ready to lose right now to Texas Tech, who's never been to the World Series. There's so much parity in sports, especially in college softball in today's world. And, if you get to the College World Series, you've had a hell of a year.
Shane, do you think there's anything too similar to football? You bragged about the number of teams getting in, 13, whatever it was. But when you play all season long against this competition and you get your brains beat in sometime, it can have what I call residual impact. Your pitching staff is exhausted by the end of the year. You have injuries, which Sully had 5 or 6 players injured, lost for the year. His whole infield practically, and it showed up. I don't know. I'm not making excuses, but why was this year different, Shane?
What do you mean, baseball? For baseball?
Baseball, they ran out of gas and pitching at the end.
Well, we've had some issues there, not just us, but everybody. I mean,
that's what I mean. Schools seem to be doing this.
Well, I just think there's parity across college baseball. I mean, you're looking at Murray State; they're getting ready to go to a super regional.
Yeah.
UTSA, the Roadrunners, are going to a super regional. I mean, we've seen it happening before in baseball. It's hard to play in the ACC. I think it's hard to play in the SEC. I think it's hard to play in a lot of leagues because league play is different than when you get into postseason play. Yeah. You know your opponent much better in league play. But that's baseball, man. It's crazy. Crazy things happen. I didn't watch a lot of games, but I saw a lot of highlights of crazy, crazy things that happened. And it's good for the sport, in my opinion.
Do you?
Yeah.
I know. I watch more baseball than I've ever watched. I think I watched 10 games during a period of 2 days, SEC and all that stuff. It's almost too much. Anyway, we were able to get that going, and I congratulate all those girls on that softball team for the way they represented. Boy, they were such great kids.
Oklahoma was down to their last out and just tied it up in the bottom of the 7th.
No kidding. How about that? Yeah. Well, there you go. There's that depth. Yeah, Tommy Seal says tie game now. Keep us up to date on that. I can't watch any more baseball tonight. My wife's going to work. Let's talk about something else. Football. Staff changed today, or at least we know about it today. It happened obviously earlier. Chris Couch, you know him?
I know. Chris Couch was at the Gator golf team. He was he used to play a lot of golf with him. Played on the PGA Tour, national champ.
This is Chris Couch.
I know.
Yeah. If it's golf, I know you know it. By the way, they're finally done with that. So apparently the special teams coordinator resigned to take another job. And I was getting in. I know Kevin Brockway will have some information on that. And now they've got a new special teams coach. If you remember, they were having problems counting players. Remember?
Well, that was 2 years ago. They didn't do that.
The same guy who was doing the special teams.
Well, they hired Joe Houston from the Patriots.
Joe Houston, but 2
years ago, and last year we were very good on special teams.
Well, no, but it wasn't special teams coordinator. It was Chris Couch supposedly.
No, Joe Houston and him did it together.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So Graham Hall, part of the Joe Houston, was promoted to the job.
He was, but he was hired from the Patriots to fix all the issues we had 3 years ago.
Right.
He fixed them last year, but it was all Joe Houston.
But he's still there, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's not. I can't. Hard. It's hard for me to. I don't really know those people, so it's obviously Chris Couch is leaving, and now it's Joe Houston who did fix the problem apparently. So, thanks for shredding that out. All right, and now here's where you get to weigh in on something you should know something about. 3 former Florida Gator standouts were named on June 2nd. To the National Football Hall of Fame ballot for the 2026 class. Get out your pen and pencil, Shane. I want you to vote here. which one of these or all of these do you think should be nominated? First of all, Percy Harvin. Naturally, he was on the national championship teams, and it was a two-way threat for Urban Meyer. And then you've got where have we got those other ones here? Three guys. Who were the other two? Help me out here.
Alex Brown and Brad Culpepper.
Thank you. Yes, I would vote for all of them if I could cut that part off. Yeah, and I like them all. Which of those ones do you think should be nominated?
Well, I think Percy's the best football player I ever saw in my time as a Gator with the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Alex Brown, I think, was the defensive player of the year, the one year when he had all the sacks.
Great player.
Brad was a teammate of mine. I think Brad was a good player. I don't think he was a great player.
Okay.
I think he's up mainly due to academics. He won the Heisman, the whatever that award is, academic Heisman.
Right.
So I would
have a long history there, like 3 generations.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them will get in this year, but I think if anybody does, I think it would be either Percy or this is the first time I think Percy's been on the ballot. So I don't know. I would lean Percy and Alex Brown, but I don't know if any of them will.
Who's the greatest player to ever play at Florida?
The greatest player that I ever saw play at Florida?
Who you think is, based on what you know, is the greatest player?
Well, that's hard to tell because, I mean, I can only go by what I saw.
That's all I want you to do.
I mean, Percy, like I told you, he's the best football player I saw at Florida.
That must be it then.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's going to get in the College Football Hall of Fame.
I know. I didn't say that. I'm just not correlating it to. I'm just saying, if I was asked that question, I asked Urban Meyer that question. What do you think he said?
He said, absolutely, Percy.
He did. As much as he loved Tim Tebow.
Percy covered up a lot of problems.
He created a lot and covered up a lot, too.
Yeah.
He had some real issues. Some of those headaches he had, I wondered about, I mean, he didn't play in the 2008 championship game in the SEC against Alabama. He wasn't there. They played without him. So, anyway, yeah, Percy was amazing. He had such an explosive style. It's almost like one time Mullins said he shifts into another gear that we didn't know was possible. He's running and he shifts and boom, and then he takes off. And in the open field, it was amazing to watch. Percy, how about that? Yeah, so anyway, that's coming up. And Shane, what you going to do with your summer now? I know you're watching golf. We'll talk about some of that. Scotty Scheffler, the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life in terms of picking a golfer was leaving Scotty off my ballot 3 weeks ago. We picked our players. And I said, I'm going to leave him off.
Well, we don't. JC and I pick the golf tournament every week, but we're not allowed to pick Scotty Scheffler.
I got you. That's a good rule. Well, you saw him yesterday. Once he got it straightened out, Nicholas talked about how he wasn't worried about those other guys. They all made runs at him. He knew he was better and he was going to win.
Yeah.
All he's got to do is
I had two finish in the top 5, so I beat JC this week. Russell Henley and Ben Griffin were on my team.
I asked if he was Ben Hill. When it came to Ben Hill, they said no. I was told no, he was not.
He's a North Carolina kid.
Yeah, all right. But it still could be kin to him. Yeah. So
you know his story, right, buddy?
Tell me again.
Well, he got on the PGA Tour, didn't have success, so he quit.
Yeah.
Or lost his car, went and sold mortgages, and just recently got his card back and is just tearing it up.
Yeah. Did he work for Chris Storing? No.
No, I don't think so.
He did, yeah. So, all right. So Shane, I'm gonna ask you about this. I don't know. You don't watch any Tampa Bay Rays games.
I follow him a little bit though, because my buddy's son is Jake Mangum. Hit his first home run the other day.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's just a little green. Well, I want to ask you about the Taylor Walls incident, which I think was Incredible.
I don't even know who that is.
Taylor Wallace is a shortstop, and he's from FSU. He's a terrific defensive shortstop. Very mild-mannered guy. Really mild-mannered. He got tossed out of a game for something I'd never heard of. I want to bring it to you, let you talk about it. But first, let me tell folks about this program sponsored by Meldon Law. He wants to change sponsors too. Meldon Law, of course, you know all about what they do. They're terrific lawyers. If you need help in that department, I'd like to remind Jeffrey that sometimes you are in the law business because he talks about the Gators, about his basketball friends, and all the things he loves doing. He loves his life he's got going on. And I'm glad Jeffrey's a good dude. He also wants you to know that if you have any questions that you'd like to know, like a suit you've got filed, you can't seem to get it moving, you want a review or a second opinion, call him up. He'll talk to you about it, and he'll help you out. If he can't help you, he'll try to get you somebody who can. Of course, they're right there in Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City, and Williston. They're around all the time. Give him a call and ask him a question. He'll direct you. I guarantee you that. And if you want to win goodies, Shane will tell you this is true too. Coming up this fall, you want football tickets, you want gymnastic tickets, basketball tickets. All of a sudden, the best place to score them for free is on the Meldon Law Facebook page. They give away a ton of stuff, including some trips. So I encourage you. Jeffrey Meldon Law, the only official law firm from the University of Florida. All right, so Shane, have you ever heard of this? You're not supposed to tap your helmet if you disagree with the call of the umpire.
Your batting helmet?
Yep. Taylor Wallace got kicked out of the game yesterday against the Astros. They'd won 2 in a row. 1-0 game. He was down to, I think, right near the end. He was trying to get a base hit and all get score in. And he got a bad call on a below ball. And apparently he told the ump that was low. And it said he tapped his helmet. They threw him out of the game.
Wow. I don't even know what that means. Is that some kind of...
Apparently it is some kind of rule. You're challenging the call. They said with the ABS system, whatever that is. There's no ABS system, but I've heard of tapping out in football, but never tapping out. So he tapped his helmet. They said, and the umpire looked up and said, got his face and kicked him out of the game. I've never heard of that. And he was mad, and he's a guy that is really low key. His heartbeat's probably slower than yours, Shane. That's possible, and still be alive. And he's real cool and calm. And he had got enraged, and at that point in time, and he said, "I didn't tap SH, you know what?" Saying that, and he got in his face, and they threw him out. Anyway, uncharacteristic. I just said nobody. If I was the only person in the world who didn't know, I played baseball for over 20 years, including a season and a half of college. I've never heard of tapping the helmet when you disagree with the call. Did you?
No, I've never heard that in my life.
Maybe some of our listeners will help me out with that. So anyway, all right. So that's something I learned, and the Rays are playing good baseball. They've stuck it too. The Astros pretty good and took them down. They won the series, but tapping out, man, I've never heard of that one. Never heard of that one. So maybe this guy has right here, and I want him to straighten us out on what he heard about Sully. Well, let's see. Franz Beard's there. Come and get Franz just a minute. And I want to talk to him about what he's heard regarding Sully. You're done with that, aren't you, Shane? I can tell you're done with the whole Sully thing.
I mean, I don't think it was, man, Texas Tech just beat Oklahoma. The dynasty is over.
How about that?
I mean, like I said, I don't know all the details. I've just seen the video. We all can agree that it wasn't great. Coach was obviously upset.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, it's 12-11 Ole Miss over Murray State.
Ole Miss has come back?
It's 12-11. Yeah, it's 12-11 Murray State over Ole Miss, 12-11.
Ole Miss was losing by about 7 runs a few minutes ago.
They've come back, yes, to answer you. A lot of runs being scored there. So crazy there. So, by the way, according to all kinds of weather, we got Vandy eliminated, Texas eliminated, Georgia eliminated, Clemson eliminated, Oregon eliminated, and now about to have Ole Miss eliminated. So, didn't seem to go very well in that regard. So, let me get this guy. Let's talk for us about Sully for one more thing. And let's talk about a new recruit, which apparently he's from Ocala, IMG guy. His mom works in Gainesville, and I can't pronounce his name, but he's apparently a heck of an offensive lineman, 6'5", 315. Franz, can you pronounce that guy's name?
No, I can't. But he's got a name, so that's good. And he's
it's spelled G apostrophe Nivre. Genevre Carr. 2020.
All I know is, in the last 25 years, I guarantee at 3:00 in the morning, the phone rings all over America. Somebody answers the phone, and the next thing you hear is, "Mama, why the hell did you give me that name?" Because we got names that have never been invented before. I can't pronounce them. I can't figure them out. But at some point in time, somebody named somebody Shane for the first time. And everybody said, "Why the hell you naming that boy that name?" And this goes back centuries, I'm sure.
There you go. By the way, he chose Florida over Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Colorado, plus others. He's 6'5", 336. That's what you want for your offensive lineman, Shane. Went to IMG in Bradenton. So apparently, anybody here follow tennis?
Anybody what?
Follow.
Yeah, well, Ben Shelton. Since Ben Shelton got beat, no, I haven't.
Yeah. You're right. He did. You're on the right track, Shane. Did you follow it at all, Shane?
I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I used to play a little bit of tennis, but I've never really liked tennis because I know they play on a few different, you play on the grass at Wimbledon, you play in the clay at the French, but it's still a damn tennis court, right? Same dimensions and everything.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't do much for me.
Well, I remember this is true, and I'm old enough to have done it. I remember so many years ago when golf and tennis were neck and neck in popularity in this country. And I was living in New York at the time, way back when, and there was a debate going on which was a better sport to play. And most people said tennis because it takes less time, it's less expensive, etc. Tennis was extremely popular, not so much anymore. But Ben Shelton apparently had a hell of a match against Carlos Alcaraz, not Alvarez. And went 6'8", 8'10", 3'6", 6'4", 6'4". They called it an incredible performance for Shelton, going toe-to-toe with the best men's player in the world. I've seen him play a couple of times. He is impressive, Franz.
Oh, Ben's given Ben another year or so, and he's going to be as good as there is. He's probably the most powerful server in the world now, and he's still learning the game. He's impressive.
Yeah,
he is really, really impressive. And goodness, we were so fortunate to have him here as a Gator. He led us to a national championship. Ole Miss 2-1, 1 out, bottom of the 8th. They're trailing 12-11.
They just scored 8 unanswered.
Yeah. They had a 3-run home run this inning. So, yeah, Murray State has 19 hits so far.
12-11 at Murray State at the moment. So we'll see what happens. 8th inning. So let's bring this guy in and make it a free-for-all, and maybe he can tell us what he knows about the Kevin O'Sullivan situation. That would be Kevin Brockway of the Games Design. What's up, Kevin?
How are you? What's the score of the Miami Southern Miss game?
Nobody cares.
I don't have any idea.
1-0 Miami.
I can't keep up with it. Too much.
1-0 Miami.
Too much.
I've been knee deep in stories all day, so I haven't had a chance to follow.
Yeah.
So.
Top of the second. Top of the second.
1-0.
All right.
LSU's up 1-0 on Little Rock.
I can't keep with I've been trying to keep up with this stuff for 2 weeks. It's too much. Can't keep up with it. I watched more baseball in the last 2 weeks. I watched it in my life. I still can't keep up. It's too much. But let's talk about, get to the one more baseball story. We talked about it with Shane earlier. Kevin O'Sullivan issued an apology today. What do you hear about it, Kevin Brockway? What do you know about it? And what do you think about it, Franz?
Well, I think, the situation was he was clearly frustrated, I think, because, number one, the Fairfield game, that was moved to 3 p.m. And that was somewhat understandable because of them playing late in the night because of the weather delay. But then the ECU game wasn't really played that late at night, and they moved it to 1. So, he was a little upset, didn't handle it necessarily the right way, but at the same time felt like, maybe it would have been an advantage 1 hour earlier. I don't know. If the bats would have been a little more tired. Turned out not to be the case, given Florida's pitching. But yeah, Sully, listen, he's got a hot temper, and hot tempers combined with hot mics are not a good combination. And I think that obviously he got caught by a camera in a moment that he probably wishes that he had back, and it kind of became public enemy number 1 up there in Conway, South Carolina. And I think Scott Strickland was probably pretty upset about the way it looked when it went viral today on social media, and had to sit down and said, hey, look, we've got to address this, and you're going to make a public apology, and I'm going to make a public apology, because that's not necessarily the way we operate. Although I've been, I've been at the phone of some of those tongue lashings from former Florida ADs and SIDs and so forth and everything. So, but those are mostly in private. So
I was a little curious as to what caused it. As I know now, in retrospect, he issued the
start times. Yeah.
Well,
they made the start time change 2 hours before the game.
I know.
There's, an hour before the 12 o'clock game.
Right. And that's true. Yeah.
That's what did it, and I don't blame him for being pissed off. Now, as Kevin just said, a hot mic and a hot temper are not exactly good buddies. Sully was right. And it shouldn't have happened. It affected his pitching. He's got a guy that's already getting loose, that's already going through his stretching and soft tossing and everything like this. And now you come back and say, wait, well, you're not going to pitch this. The game's not going to be for an hour later. And it affected the pitching.
It wasn't an hour or two before the game, Franz, I think, because I saw it on Sunday morning. I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning when they announced that. So he knew well before. He knew a good 3 hours before.
I had heard differently. And
the pitching affected the pitching, Franz. I don't think it was them. And Aiden King was just fine with the game at 3 o'clock. They have a pitching problem there at Florida. In terms of like not getting enough depth and developing, that's a big issue. When 2 or 3 starters can't get out of the second inning, that's
a separate issue. We're talking about conduct here, and I'm giving him a pass, but I do not say it's okay.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And Kevin was right. Hot mics, hot tempers.
Yeah.
He was. In principle, he's right to get pissed off. In principle, but you gotta. It's kind of like basketball coaches. Basketball coaches have to know when to get a technical foul and when to let it go. And there comes a time when you make your point, and then it's time to let it go. And he did not do that. And Scott was right. You got to make a public apology, because from a standpoint of optics, it's terrible for Florida. It's terrible for Sully. He already gets it everywhere he goes because of that situation. What was it, 3 or 4 years ago? And he already hears it from all that. And so optics are never really good for him. So you throw something like this at it, and trust me, there will be people who are going to be screaming about it.
Oh, not the best version. Let's shift gears. Let's just say, chalk it off, apology accepted, whatever. I'm not too happy with that Coastal Carolina coach. Cheap shot he took having the press conference. I thought was pretty bad as well. But I guess when you do wrong, you got to take the bullets wherever they are. I want to talk about something good. Jack Caglione is in the big leagues finally, and that's a happy story. Some people say be careful about being in desperation and go get your top prospect. But how could you not? The Royals only scored one run over the weekend. One run.
Yeah.
And Caglione hasn't. I noticed your show tweeted out, Shane, that he hadn't been turning the cover off the ball the last couple of days. But what he did prior to that, amazing. The moonshots he hit. And the fact he had 4 in 4 days or so, 3 days, whatever. And,
5 homers, 4 days.
Yeah, and so now look, baseball's a long term. It's a long game. Things can happen. They project he will be a good player. I heard all the baseball people got numbers for everything. You know how they are.
Yeah.
But he's certainly got great potential, which doesn't mean anything. But I think this guy is a sure bet. What he's doing right now. They talk about guys like MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfroe and guys that didn't make it with the Royals, got called up too early. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this guy's going to be a star in the bigs? Let's start with you, Shane.
I would think so. I mean, there's a lot of these stars in the big leagues you never even heard of, right? They come out of nowhere.
Right.
But he's got God-given ability to hit the baseball. Strong young man. You would think he's got a chance to have a really good career.
Yeah, he's the biggest mover of the spring, supposedly. Numbers speak out pretty well. They said they can expect 14 homers and a .593 slugging percentage based on their stats. They think they know everything. But this guy is unique in regards to his size, the power when he hits these home runs. And I guess he's an okay defensive player. They're going to play him in one of the two outfield, left or right, or on first base. But I would say, I got to say, I think he's going to make the bigs and be a star. That's my prediction, Kevin.
Yeah, he's 22 years old, right? Getting called up, less than a year removed from college.
Right.
Record 75 home runs at Florida. He's 6'5". He's got that looping left-handed swing. You know who he reminds me of, buddy? A kid that I knew of who was, and you're going to groan about this, but 21 years old when he was called up in 1983, probably when you were working for the New York Daily News, Darryl Strawberry. That's who he reminds me of.
If he's Darryl Strawberry, he got it made, just as long as he didn't act like Darryl Strawberry.
Exactly. But I mean, in his swing and his size and his ability to generate power with that size. And Darryl Strawberry had some moonshots back in the day. You see that with Caglione too.
He did. Franz?
The thing I love about him is he's got power to where the ball is pitched. He's a great pull hitter, obviously, but he gets a lot of opposite field carry on the ball. His exit velocity, they say, has rivaled that of Judge and Ohtani this year. Typically, exit velocity on his hits about 106 on the average, and holy cow, I mean, I had 106 on the exit velocity. If you added the four hits I got playing against Magruder Oil in 1966.
I got those written down. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember that quite well. My only 4-hit game in history.
We're all talking about it. Yeah, we got that one down.
The thing I like about him is his strikeouts. They were saying when he got up to Double-A, they said he'd strike out a lot more. Then he gets up to Triple-A, they'll say he'll strike out a lot more. He's striking out only about 18% of the time. He's making great, and about half of his strikeouts have been called. Yeah. He's not a great swing and miss guy, which for somebody with that kind of power is pretty unusual.
Yeah.
But that was true last year, wasn't it, Kevin?
And remember this, buddy. Yeah, he hits the ball off field. Remember this, buddy. He could have been drafted by the 9-50 Colorado Rockies at number 4. He would have hit 50 home runs in that ballpark in Coors Field. You know what I mean?
They can't win, and they're losing everything. They can't. What he faces, complains every day about.
And you wonder why they're 9-50.
That altitude. Oh my gosh, he'd hit 80 home runs a year there. It's incredible. All right, so let's get Shane out of here with this. I'm gonna get you guys to pick. You pick your choice. Use players come and players go. Some you remember, some you don't. People talk about Bobby Bozer being one of the most underrated players, and how well he played. He had 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Only Brad Wilkerson was better. Bozer finished with 18 home runs and 19 stolen bases. This year, he would have advanced that if they'd advanced. He had a 336 batting average. It was all SEC defensive at third base, although he didn't play like it that well in the tournament. Or you want to say, I'm going to give you a choice. You want to say goodbye to him or goodbye to one of the 3 women softball players who we'll never forget. Take your choice, Franz. Shane. I'll let you go. Who are you going to miss the most?
I'm going to miss the softball girls.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Was it Falby that said she was going to take that jersey and home and sleep in it? That she did, right?
Yeah, I mean, they still got a lot of girls coming back.
Yeah.
But
those 3 were
Falby and Corby Otis are the 2 main seniors. I mean, Holtorf is a transfer. She only was here 1 year. They'll be back. I mean, getting to the World Series is a successful season.
Yeah, Reagan Walsh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it was revealed that Rothrock had that blister problem, too. And that.
Yeah. All right, so, Kevin, go ahead. Who do you want to say goodbye to?
I'll say goodbye to Bobby Bowe. He was, Sully called him Bobby Baseball because he did a lot of things well. He was a very impactful transfer. Florida could have used a few more like him, but he was a very likable guy when you interviewed him. Good, very pleasant guy. And I think that, like I said, played a really solid third base, and they had to move him to short because of Shelton. And that really threw the defense out of whack between that and Heyman. That really hurt their defense late in the season.
All right, so Franz, I'll let Shane go have his milk cookies. What do you want to say goodbye to?
Well, I agree with Shane. I mean, you look at those 3 girls, and and then throw in Holtorf as well, and Brooke Bernard. Those kids conducted themselves as first class as they could be. You don't play for Tim if you're not going to class and you're not making good grades. One thing I love about Tim Walton, his graduation rate is something like 97% for everybody that's been there 4 years. And Kendra Falby said it all. She said he took a little girl who was lost and had no idea where she was going and what she was going to do, and turned her into someone confident enough to do anything she ever wants to do in life.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the coach and the program and how they nurture. And I think Tim's really great at nurturing these young women. And they're girls when they come, and they're women when they leave, ready to take on the world. And he's got a history of doing it that way.
Shane, you know him well, and you know what do you think which one of those girls will he miss the most, Shane?
Oh gosh, I mean, Corey Otis is by far the smartest girl he's coached.
Yeah, doctor, surgeon.
She was all American. I mean, Falby was here for 4 years. Reagan Walsh was here for 4 years. I mean, he's probably got a better relationship with those 2. Because Corby was only here for 2 years and Holtorf only 1 year. Brooke Bernard was a transfer from Ole Miss as well, here a couple of years. But he's got a tremendous program. Obviously, we didn't win it all. Hell, Oklahoma didn't win it all, okay? If you get to Oklahoma City, that is the key, and then see what happens. And I expect them to be back in Oklahoma City next year.
Yeah, Shane, it's hard to go out better than what she did in that series. Falby, they're chanting her name. She had those tremendous plays defensively, and the whole crowd was chanting her name, Cameron Falby. And she wouldn't even look up. And Tim said, You can at least wave to them, What the heck? I love those kids. Shane, thank you. What time tomorrow morning? You have anybody good on your show tomorrow?
We got some guy we just picked up off the street named Buddy Martin.
What's his name? Must be good.
Yeah, we picked him up off the street. You're one of those guys. You're just coming in on a 10-day contract.
I'm glad we picked up. I'll be seeing you in the morning.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Shane Matthews, the QB. All right, guys, we're going to round it up out here. A little bit of football news with the recruiting situation. And it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, it feels like they've got 2 or 3 candidates cooking pretty good. They got the offensive lineman from IMG. And is it just me? Am I being overly optimistic, Kevin? Are they picking up some momentum in terms of recruiting right now?
Yeah, well, I think it was a good weekend, right? And, they had people over at Spurs too. And I think it was pretty good. And then, of course, you saw tonight, Chris Couch is leaving. So I don't know if that's worth a celebration or not, considering how Florida's special teams played the first couple of years. But you have Joe Houston there. So it's been an interesting weekend football-wise all around. And, hey, we forgot to ask Shane, too, about the College Football Hall of Fame ballot, buddy.
I asked him earlier about it.
About Culpepper and
he said Culpepper was his teammate. He thought he was a great player and smart, but he probably would vote for the other 2 guys, Alex Brown and Percy Harvin, who was by most people's estimation was the greatest player ever in Florida.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, who would you vote for?
No, I'd vote for Percy. Yeah, I would definitely vote for Percy. I mean, he was one of the most electric players. I've been covering this program on and off for 20 years, and one of the most electric football players that I've ever seen in person put on a Florida uniform. And, you look back to that BCS title game in 2008, it was really his will and Tebow's will that really, got him over the top there. And SEC championship game in 2006 too. I mean, Percy came up big in some big moments.
Of course, he was not there for the SEC championship game in 2008.
Yes.
He was on the game. And France, we were there and saw that game. They won that without Percy.
Won that without Percy because Tim Tebow basically willed the Gators to 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that was and look at what Tebow did in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma too. I mean, Tebow was. You talk about Percy had that electric run, I think that was the 2 plays in against Oklahoma. One of them was the interception that they had at the goal line. The ball gets tipped to, I think Ahmad Black has the last tip, and the ball goes into the hands of
Jared Davis, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. And that play right there, and then they take the ball over. And Percy has like about a 56-yard run, I think it was, and just flipped the field. And the game changed forever on that. I think on those 2 plays. And Percy was he had the run against Arkansas in 2006 too. That was that all of a sudden he looked like he'd been shot out of a gun.
I believe he wasn't he the MVP of the 2006 game? I thought he was. He might have been. And hey, the 2008 SEC championship game without Percy, remember who had the big touchdown on the shovel pass? The late Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, Aaron Hernandez and of course David Nelson.
David Nelson, the guy who only was there because he volunteered to go after the Tebow promise. He went to Meyer and said, I want to do more. How can I do it? And Meyer said, play special teams. And he did. And as a result of his special teams play, was on the field and made that great catch in that game, France, remember?
Well, he made a tremendous catch against in the Alabama game in 2008. He also makes a tremendous catch. He ends up making the catch that was the game winner in the national championship game in 2008. But he also had this tremendous catch of about a 30-yard pass down the middle And I remember that so well because Brent Musburger,
Wasn't the same route?
yeah, Brent Musburger talking to us the next morning saying that was, the throw to David Nelson. He says, that was an NFL throw. It was. I mean, my gosh, that might be the greatest throw Tim ever made right there.
That and the jump pass, which was a terrible throw, by the way.
It was. But, we look back at those two, at that era, 2005 even, the blocked kick, that ends up in Reggie Lewis's hands, and he runs it in for a touchdown that leads to the 34-7 win over Florida State. And that play right there, I thought, was the pin in the Bobby Bowden balloon, the final one. And you were seeing that the Bowden era was going downhill, and the Florida era was going up because of Urban. That game, that win right there I thought, was so significant. And Florida, I look at what happened last year, and I like to think that maybe that win over LSU will have the same type of effect because they beat FSU, then they won the bowl game, and they had momentum going into the next year. And past year, they beat LSU, then they beat Ole Miss, and forget the bowl game and forget FSU. Those were games they were going to win anyway. But you won those two significant games, and the carryover momentum does carry over from season to season. And and buddy, I think you look at what happened and how we talk about momentum, how it carries over. The momentum of the Arkansas game after the Tebow promise, and we go up to Arkansas for that game, and Florida runs for like 380 yards in that game. I think Dempsey and Rainey both had 70-yard runs in that game, but Florida just ran the ball, and the momentum, how it carried over. And then you look back at 2005, how that momentum carries over to 2006, etc., like that. I'm a real believer in momentum, and I think that I don't know, Kevin may disagree with me, but I think the wins over LSU and Ole Miss, I think that's the momentum that will carry over into this year.
I agree, Franz. I think that those four and that 4-game winning streak, I think that it is going to carry over because too, I think we saw the development as I think as maybe I've alluded to as a true SEC line of scrimmage. Like we saw the toughness, you saw the ability to get after the quarterback. You saw a guy like Caleb Banks emerge. You saw a guy like Tyreek Sapp. You saw the offensive line open up holes for the running game. So Jacoby Jackson, Jaden Baugh, all those guys, and they all played hard around DJ Lagway too. And I think that's, for some reason, he didn't have, obviously, coming back, and we know he had the core issues and stuff. He didn't have the eye-popping necessarily stats or throws that he did the first half of the season, but they play hard around him, man. There's something about him, his presence and his personality and the confidence he inspires. It permeates throughout the whole team. So, I mean, as long as he stays healthy, I think they got a real shot next year to take another step.
Speaking of guys like that, this is the final quick thought. Watching some video of DJ Lagway throwing the ball, he looks really good throwing the football. Snaps it off. There's something called the NFL Rookie Watch. And they say DJ Lagway is built like an absolute tank at the quarterback position. One NFL scout reportedly believes Lagway is one of the, quote, scariest built prospects to ever play the game. Quote, he's Micah Parsons playing quarterback. Defenders have more trouble bringing him down than any other player on the team. And the greatness of what this guy might be, we can only say what he might be. First, Kevin, you get a minute, and then Franz.
Yeah, and I think too, the dual threat ability will be interesting if we see a little more of it this year, or if we see a guarded version of that. But we know what we saw as a kid could throw the football and throw it downfield with exceptional timing, and that's something that's that's a skill too that is obviously Gator fans love, right? But that comes with a lot of hard work with your receivers, and he's got some toys to play with this year, and unfortunately he sat out the spring, but it'll be interesting to see how he develops that chemistry and cohesiveness, during the summer and into fall camp.
What's the thing you like about him most, Kevin?
What I like about him, I just like his presence and his poise, and the fact that he can, inspire teammates around him. He just seems to have, we met him at his foundation dinner. He just seems to have a maturity about him that kind of belies his age.
Franz, he's inspirational to watch. I don't know. There's no limit on what this guy might be. What are your thoughts right now today about how good this kid could be?
Well, you were mentioning something earlier about his size. That was at the softball regionals a couple of weeks ago, or super regionals a couple of weeks ago, and I watched him. He's there. He's got a girlfriend on the softball team, and he's there in a tank top and shorts, and I swear he looked like Brandon Spikes to me. I mean, he really did. I mean, the guy is built like a linebacker, and but he's built like a linebacker, but he's got an arm like you can't believe. I think as long as the money part of it, and I hate to say that because he's never shown that the money is that big of an issue with him. But Buddy, as long as and Kevin, as long as the three of us have been writing about sports, which has been a pretty, it takes the three of us to probably pushing about right now, probably pushing 150 years between the three of us. And we've all seen how money can corrupt a career and can all of a sudden sidetrack a career.
Well, we'll save that thought for another day. I don't think this hero is going to be corrupted. It's my opinion. We'll see.
I don't think so either, but you never know.
All right. Thank you, Franz. Great job. Kevin, thank you. What can we read from you tomorrow? You got 15 seconds, Kevin.
Yeah, kind of a wrap up on why the Florida baseball team didn't make the College World Series. And then also I got something coming on Wednesday, talking to a few experts about can Florida basketball repeat as national champions.
All right, stay tuned for news from Franz on the book. Franz, thank you. Kevin, thank you. I want to thank our sponsors and our guests tonight. Of course, Titan MRI and Imaging. They acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colaria started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations to serve you. As we say goodnight to the fellows here, you can check them out in North Central Florida. They got Gainesville with a Park Avenue location, and now at the Millennium. If you need to go there, one in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County, and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI Imaging, they are there for you. They offer the same great customer service, which means you can tailor make your own appointments. If you can't make it in the daytime, well, guess what? You can come in the evening and make an appointment. They will take you then. So call them up and find out what you need to do. They accept insurance through the convenient self-pay plan. They have other options. They offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling, as I said, with lots of options. Check them out. Titan MRI and Imaging, 4 locations to serve you, soon coming to Marion County. All right, folks, thanks for a good show tonight. Thanks to Franz and Kevin and Shane. We're back. Tomorrow you've got Brendan Martin will be hosting the show, and he'll be talking to Lauren Meadows from Paris. Yeah, we're going international here on this, so good stuff happening there. So stay tuned for that. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night, folks.